Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as I am every Friday morning by Derek Brown and by Pat Fitzmaurice. We are talking our Week 5 key questions. Quick reminder for everybody that all of our weekly consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. Guys, we have a couple fewer games to talk about. We are into bye season, which is frustrating when setting lineups, but it's really nice when I'm doing this show and you can kind of focus a little more on some of the other matchups and not have so many games to get through. We've got 4 teams on bye. Some good, fun players here. It's going to be, it's not bye-mageddon with, 6 teams on bye, but there are a lot of good players. Falcons, Packers, Bears, and Steelers are all on bye this week. So just in case for some reason anybody watching missed that and just forgot to check that for their lineup this week, go check that because there are teams that will not be playing. Also, go check if you have any guys in the Vikings-Browns game because we have another early game. We can jump right into that one here over in London. So I will say once again, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, I'll say this for every international game. Get Fantasy Pros Autopilot. Do not get stuck with like a Jaylen Warren situation last week where it was maybe less of a true surprise in the morning that he was not playing, but he went into Saturday night questionable, ended up not playing. Alvin Kamara is really the best example from a few years ago where you got that surprise scratch and a lot of managers got stuck with zeros. Autopilot will help you make that not happen. It doesn't have to set your whole lineup for you. You can include it to just do inactive players swap out. So I would strongly recommend that as long as these international games are going on and even for the rest of the season. But that first international game for this week, the only international game, like I mentioned, Vikings-Browns. Kind of an obvious question, angle to hit on this one. Not an easy spot for Dillon Gabriel's first career start. Browns finally making the change after Joe Flacco looking very bad for most of the season. So, D-Bro, I'll start with you. What are your expectations for Browns players this week, just in general?
Oh, sorry. I was doing my best Shedeur Sanders if you couldn't tell if you're watching on YouTube. So, dude.
I legitimately thought because before we started the show, you were like, my mic, is it even working? So because you asked that, I was like, oh, maybe his mic is still not working. I saw your face.
You froze for a second. You're like, oh, no.
I did. You got me. I didn't even think of the Shedeur Sanders. That was a good bit.
Oh, man. I think this is going to be a rough game for the Browns, man. I think the only guy you're confidently starting is Quinshon Judkins based off the volume. And you can run against the Vikings defense. They've given up the 9th most rushing yards per game, 7th highest yards after contact per attempt. So outside of him, I don't know how the Browns are going to move this ball, man. Like, I worry that, why are you throwing Dillon Gabriel into his first NFL career start against this freaking defense where, Brian Flores is going to heat him up. He's going to blitz him. They're going to pressure him. And Dillon Gabriel, for as much as people want to talk about, I didn't dislike him as a prospect, but I mean, very much every part of an Oregon quarterback coming out. It was either screens or deep balls and manufactured stuff. Good luck, young sir. That's all I could say.
Fitz, what do you think? And specifically, what are your expectations for Gabriel in this offense against a Vikings defense that has made other quarterbacks look bad at times this year?
Expectations are pretty low, Worm. It is an interesting choice for the Browns to make the switch to a rookie quarterback now for an overseas game against the Brian Flores defense. I understand that Joe Flacco got old fast and couldn't remain the starter, but man, couldn't you wait a week? I suppose a road game against Pittsburgh in week 6 wouldn't have been that much easier, but boy, this is a really tough spot for Dillon Gabriel. Flores is just going to throw all sorts of exotic stuff at him, like complicated blitzes, twists and stunts, simulated pressure. He'll play a heavy front with zone coverage behind it, stuff that Dillon Gabriel is just not going to be ready for. He will be given some really complicated problems to solve in his first NFL start. And because of that, I don't really want to start any Browns pass catchers, not Jerry Jeudy, not David Njoku, not Harold Fannin. You're starting Quinshon Judkins for the volume, but if the Browns can't get first downs, it's possible Judkins only finishes with 13 or 14 carries, even if the Browns are running at a high rate to try to take heat off Gabriel. But if Gabriel and the Browns can't pick up first downs, it's going to be a bad day for Judkins too. I think I have all the Browns ranked slightly below consensus, and it's not like the consensus rankings of any of these guys are that high.
Well, I do want to ask on Judkins specifically because, Fitz, I know you tend to be drawn towards volume above everything else for some players, but there's so much going against Judd. We talked a little bit about this on the Thursday show with Jake this week too. But just for our Friday show audience, I'm curious, where do you have Judkins ranked? Are you giving more credence to the volume, or are you more fading because of he's going to get all this attention and the offense is likely not going to move the ball very well?
I mean, I've got him running back 15, which I think might be like a
he's RB 14 in ECR.
Yeah, so one spot behind consensus. As I mentioned, I worry, yes, there's going to be volume, but the volume might not be what we had hoped if the Browns just can't move the ball.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the kind of main early Sunday slate here. First game up, Texans at Ravens. This one is also very simple. Fitz, the Texans offense is horrific. The Ravens defense might be worse. Which unit wins that battle this week?
Oh, yeah, we talked about this on the Start Sit show with Jake Seeley. Worm, I know you think the Ravens defense can't win a stink off against the Texans offensive line. I think the Ravens defense, even in its injury depleted state, can win a stink off against the Texans offensive line. I'm sure you guys have probably seen the play from last week where CJ Stroud got sacked on like the second step of a 7-step drop. Like his right guard and right tackle just ran into each other right off the snap, and everyone else triple teamed one guy. And I think it was Jeffrey Simmons who just blasted through completely unblocked. Probably a guy you should think about blocking on any sort of passing play. I know the Ravens are just like defense playing poorly, injuries galore. I think Kyle Hamilton is now in doubt because of a groin injury. But Worm, I still think I'm taking the Ravens defense in the stink off. If the Texans light up the Ravens for 30 points and 450 yards, like, you are allowed to adopt a new team for the season. You have my permission.
I can't believe I don't have that permission already, the way the first month has gone. I will say on the Ravens defense side, Debro, that Kyle Van Noy, I think, is probably going to be back this week. Travis Jones could be back this week. So there are some reinforcements coming. Of course, they're not, going into last week, they still had Roquan and Marlon Humphrey, and those guys are now going to be out. So even when you get some back, you're still missing others. Kyle Hamilton, they didn't sound overly concerned just with him not practicing on Thursday. Obviously, pay attention to that because, if Nnamdi Madubuike wasn't the most important defender on this team, it clearly was Kyle Hamilton. So missing both those guys would be pretty bad. But, I mean, like Fitz was saying, Debro, the Texans offense has also been quite bad. Like, this is, if a depleted defensive line is going to win a battle in the trenches, it's against this O-line.
So I'll just read down the Ravens injury list here. You said it.
We don't have an hour, Debro.
Yeah, Awuzie, Hamilton, Humphrey, Roquan Smith, Kyle Van Noy, Nate Wiggins, although Van Noy probably is back, like you're saying, Worm, but basically half of their starting defense. I mean, I'm taking the Texans here. I know it's been rough. I know it's not looked good. But if they're going to show life versus anybody, I mean, it's got to be against the Ravens defense. So, I mean, I think they have enough like parts and pieces, like however you want to dice this up, like the Ravens depleted pass defense. Can we get Nico Collins, get Christian Kirk a third week in the lineup going? It's a good matchup for Dalton Schultz as well. And Woody Marks. So I think the Houston Texans are going to have some life here. I'm not saying it's going to look pretty. I will go out on a limb, and I know this is not like a long and tenuous limb. I'll say the Texans will put up the most points that they have put up the entire season in this game.
Wow. Can we talk about Marks for a second? Where do you have him ranked, Debro?
Oof. I got him as a strong RB2. I'm looking at it right now. I just moved him up in ranks RB18 right now. Where do you got him at, Fitzy?
I've got him down at RB25. Like, I don't know if it's a full backfield takeover.
Do you think it was like a one-game sample? Like, are you hedging a little bit with Chubb?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be close to a 50-50. And it was pretty close to a 50-50 last week, honestly. Like, I don't think Chubb is just totally disappearing. And, a 50-50 on a team with a really bad offensive line, I just don't want to rank either back all that aggressively. But Marks does have pass catching as an out.
That's it.
Which is nice.
Yeah, that's kind of where I pushed the needle to Marks, and why I moved him up is the pass catching. And the Ravens, even at full strength, historically, the last 2 years.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They give up passes to running backs even when they're healthy.
Yep. And that's why I think Stroud, to alleviate any quick pressures, things like that, I think Marks being involved in the passing game is going to be huge for them.
They expert consensus rankings has Marks right in the middle of you two. He's RB21. So almost exactly splitting the difference between your guys' rankings. Yeah, I mean, like you talk all this time about like the trenches and everything. Texans offensive line, Ravens defensive line, like the Ravens secondary with all those guys, like Nate Wiggins, if he's the limited not play. Like I don't know who can cover Nico Collins on this Ravens team. So there's just
like literally who's going to be their starting corners. Like I got to pull up their depth chart. Like I don't even know who.
Jair Alexander might be back on the field this week out of like just necessity.
Who's got the other two spots?
I mean, I don't know.
Kenyon Martin. I'm today years old finding out that you're an NFL player. TJ Tampa. Okay. Good luck, boys.
When you've got 6 starters less healthy than Jair Alexander, you're pretty beaten up.
That's not good.
I think it's Keon Martin, by the way, not Kenyon. But I'm not going to blame you for not knowing the name of the undrafted, rookie on the Ravens.
It's fair.
I do have a second question on this game. Just on the other side of this, can we start any Ravens if Lamar is out? I know that there has been some talk out of Baltimore this week that Cooper Rush is a professional. He's like 9-5 in his career, so he's won some games. Those were different situations he was in. Like I know there's okay players on this team. Like Ronnie Stanley's been banged up. The offensive line has been so bad. Like Lamar, who gets out of sacks as well as any quarterback in football, has been just getting hammered behind the line of scrimmage because the offensive line has been bad. So I really worry about that for Cooper Rush. Like this might be a game where they just hand off to Derrick Henry 35 times because he's the only like good player that they have. But I mean, there's guys like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. I just don't know how the Ravens are going to successfully get them the ball. Like, I would be trying to not start pretty much any Raven besides Derrick Henry, honestly, D-Bro.
You're starting Derrick Henry and you're starting Zay Flowers, and I'm not probably starting anybody else outside of them. Like, I've seen people online like asking me like, oh, Cooper Rush might feed Mark Andrews. I'm like, the Ravens don't even want to feed Mark Andrews. Like the first game with Isaiah Likely, his route share dropped below 60%. Like, I don't know why that keeps happening, but it's happening. So I think you're starting Derrick Henry for the volume because you can't ever sit him because, of course, like this is the game where he rips off like a 60-yard run for a touchdown. And you're starting Zay Flowers because, again, I think the volume is going to be there for him. But outside of that, no tertiary pieces for me for the Ravens.
Honestly, Fitz, I don't even really want to start Flowers if I can avoid it because this Texans defense is really quite good. And again, like the Ravens offensive line is bad.
Well,
too.
Stingley's banged up. That kind of helps.
That's true, but I just worry about the Texans pass rush, honestly. I think Rush is going to be like under fire in a lot of this game, Fitz.
Yeah, I mean, I have Zay Flowers down at wide receiver 20, but in a week with 4 teams on bye and a lot of wide receiver injuries, I mean, guys like, some of the players we've lost at wide receiver, I think you have to start them. No Mike Evans this week, no Malik Neighbors, no. So I do think you play him, and believe it or not, I actually have bet the over on Cooper Rush passing yardage, which was 185.5 yards on Hard Rock
Bets.
Bets.
Low. Yeah, that's
as of Thursday night, really low. And Rush made 8 starts for the Cowboys last year after Dak Prescott got hurt at midseason, and Cooper Rush averaged 209.6 passing yards in those starts, and that included a 45-yard game against the Eagles. So he had some pretty good days as a passer. And like, I don't know about you, Worm, but I still happen to think Todd Monken is a pretty good play caller.
I do like Monken. That is a good point. All right, let's go to the next game. Dolphins at Panthers. Fitz, I'll start with you. Which Dolphins, and I say Dolphins because it could be more than one, but if there is just one you want to kind of own in on, that's fine too. But which Dolphins benefit the most in fantasy value from Tyreek Hill's injury?
I'm going to start with Malik Washington. Like, he's been pretty heavily involved in the Miami offense, even before the Tyreek Hill injury. Malik Washington has played at least 28 snaps in every game with snap shares in like the 50 to 60% range. And Malik Washington is a short area receiver. His average depth of target is 5.1 yards. The Dolphins kind of have to do a lot of quick hitting stuff to protect Tua. Like, you can't have Tua taking a lot of 7-step drops. So Washington is a pretty good fit for this offense. And they get him involved as a runner, too. He has 8 carries for 60 yards this year. This dude's good. Like, in his final college season at Virginia, Malik Washington had 110 catches, which I think is an ACC record, for 1,426 yards. Now, I do think it's possible Nick Westbrook-Akine and not Malik Washington plays more on with Jalen Waddle and 2 receiver sets. Because, like, Westbrook-Akine is really the only big receiver the Dolphins have. He's 6'2", 211. Malik Washington is like 5'8", 185. But Westbrook-Akine has never really been a high-volume target earner. And Through 4 weeks, Malik Washington has outsnapped Westbrook Akine 124-79. So I think Malik Washington is like a sneaky play this week. I've got him wide receiver 36 in the rankings. Jalen Waddle probably gains a little value. Darren Waller, who had 2 touchdown catches on only 16 snaps last week, he becomes a playable tight end option. And Devon Achane might just go into Christian McCaffrey mode where he's catching 10 passes every week.
Debra, who stands I mean, obviously it's the names that Fitz just mentioned. Who stands out most to you as the guy? Is it Washington? Is it Waller at tight end? Is it Waddle just going supernova and getting as many targets as he can handle? Same for Achane. Where do you go with this?
I mean, I think it's Waddle and Waller for me. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with Fitzy on Malik Washington. He's going to get a lot more relevance in the weeks to come. But I think it's Waddle, like in the sense that they're going to have to run the passing offense through him. And that's something Miami has been so reluctant to do. Like with Tyreek Hill around, Jalen Waddle's not sniffing a 25% target share, and he should be. So now they're going to be forced to feed him a 25% target share because he deserves it. And he's the clear number one option in this passing attack. So I think Waddle's going to stand the most. Like I've got him right now as wide receiver 17. And I'm not worried about, because Carolina plays so much zone coverage. J.C. Horn's not going to shadow him or anything like that. They're going to move him around the formation to get him off of Horn, who has honestly been freaking amazing this year. But Waddle, I think, benefits a ton. And Darren Waller, like, I think his snap share is going to go up. Like last year, last week, he only had a 37% route share. I think that's probably going to creep into like the 50 or 60% range. And honestly, if you were to tell me, like, I've got to look at where I've got him ranked this week. Fitzy, where do you have Waller ranked this week? Because I know we were talking about this earlier in the week. Where have you come down on him?
Tight end 14, 1 spot ahead of Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I've got him inside my top 15 tight ends. I might bump him up a little bit more, only because, dude, this is arguably the nut spot for tight ends. Like Carolina, ninth most fantasy points per game, second most receiving yards to tight ends. So even at like a 50 to 60% route share, like the Dalton Kincaid kind of role, he's going to be targeted a ton. And I'm not telling you he gets 2 touchdowns, but if you're struggling at tight end, Darren Waller's worth a start this week.
Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is top rated, probably because there are so many promos and so much to bet. If you're doing some fantasy research for Sunday, don't forget to check out those players' odds to score on the Hard Rock Bet app. And if you want to ride a hot hand, look at the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. Fantasy Pros has Jalen Hurts once again as the consensus QB3. He's reached the end zone in 6 consecutive games against the AFC. Or if you want a sleeper, Kareem Hunt is buried down at RB34, but Hunt loves October. According to Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub, he scored a touchdown in 6 straight October games. We're calling this bet the Hunt for Red October. You can bet that streak and find more insights any day of the week on Hard Rock Bet app. And if you haven't tried your first bet on Hard Rock Bet yet, there's still time for you to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you get not only your winnings, but $150 in extra bonus bets. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit. Yes, to the two of you, I have seen Hunt for Red October. Very, very good movie.
Surprised?
Indeed.
I will say I'm a little bit surprised. Not going to lie.
I want to throw just a quick, second question on the game we were just talking about. Is this the week that Teteroa McMillan finally catches a touchdown? Yes or no, D-Bro?
I think it is, only because Carolina's been trying to force feed him the ball. He's got 3 red zone targets in his last 2 games. And if you're over at Hard Rock Bet right now, they've got the best odds on the board for him as an anytime touchdown scorer, plus 175. So count me in.
Fitz?
I want to say yes, but
There's hesitance in your voice, Fitzy. I hear it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, McMillan's been playing so well under adverse circumstances, but I think realistically, the better percentage play is that he does not score a touchdown.
Let's go to the next game here. Raiders at Colts. Was week 4 what we can expect from Ashton Jeanty moving forward, or was he just taking advantage of the Bears defense, D-Bro?
I think it was partially the Bears defense, but I think the magic can continue for at least another week because Indy's rush defense has not been good. 8th highest explosive run rate, 5th highest yards before contact per attempt. And that's really the metric that I want to highlight for Jeanty when he's not getting a lot of help by his offensive line. And it's amazing that when we get a matchup where finally Ashton Jeanty's not hitting the backfield almost every single carry, some of the talking heads and media out there are talking about he's a bust, he was terrible, he's not generational, he's not a great player and stuff like that. I don't see them chirping about that this week, and I'll say Jeanty continues this week, although he's going to be very matchup sensitive just because of the offensive line that he's running behind this year.
Fitz, what do you expect out of Jeanty for his follow-up from that big breakout game?
Debro touched on it, even with the big day last week against the Bears, 155 yards from scrimmage and 3 touchdowns. And, even with that matchup against a bad Chicago run defense, defenders still made contact with Ashton Jeanty behind the line of scrimmage on like 70% of his runs last week. And now the Raiders are going to be without starting tackle Colton Miller, probably their best offensive lineman. He's on IR now with an ankle injury. Like, Jeanty is awesome. He's so hard to tackle with his amazing contact balance and all the little shakes and shimmies he gives you. But there's still going to be some rough days just because the Raiders' offensive line is so shaky.
We went kind of quick on that game, so let me take this opportunity to say that I meant to ask you guys about Thursday Night Football last night and totally forgot at the top of the show. So I do just want to quickly give you the opportunity to weigh in on that game. 26-23 in overtime, 49ers. I mean, the game itself, less relevant, but just from a fantasy perspective, obviously like both passing games were really productive in this one. Matthew Stafford, 389 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. Mac Jones, despite dealing with, the injury stuff, 342 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Running games were pretty inefficient. Both running backs, they combined to catch, the starting running backs combined to catch 3 touchdowns in this one to kind of, help their day a lot as well. Kendrick Bourne, 10 catches, 142 yards. Puka and Devontae doing their usual stuff. That's kind of the run through of the box score. But Debro, were there any kind of major fantasy takeaways from Thursday Night Football you wanted to hit on?
Good Lord. Can any Rams running back hold on to the freaking ball? Kyron drops the ball on the turf, doesn't get it taken off the field. Blake Corum does it once, and he gets shoved into the shadow realm. I don't know what Kyron has on Sean McVay. Has he got incriminating pictures of some sort? I don't know, but he could seem to do no wrong. I kind of curious. I'm curious if we see more of a backfield split because we've seen that kind of in the works. But Kyron's pass game role has been surprising over the last few weeks, especially last night. Tons of targets, lots of usage out of the backfield. I'll throw this back to you boys. Is Matthew Stafford a top 12 quarterback or fringe moving forward? Because he's playing elite level football and he's got 2 alpha wide receivers.
In fantasy, borderline if there are no buys.
If they stay healthy.
Yeah, coming into this game, obviously he lit it up on Thursday Night Football, but coming into this game, I think he was at 269 passing yards a game and 2.5 touchdown passes a game, which was, I think he's tied for the league lead, or was coming into last night's game and could be leading after this week. I think he's real. I do think he's sort of a fringe low-end QB1, high-end QB2. We just know we're getting 0 rushing upside. But the guy I want to talk about is Mac Jones. That was a heroic effort. They were practically dragging that guy off the field after some of those series. And oh God, he's done. And then he would come back out for the next series and be completing throws to Kendrick Bourne, who looked like a star last night. It was a fun game, an interesting game. And I wonder about Mac Jones, if there is a possibility that he could have a Sam Darnold career arc where he's rejuvenated in free agency, is some team tries to do quarterback in the cheap and gives Mac Jones a shot. Because he's either a bottom 10 starting quarterback somewhere, or he's the best backup quarterback in the league. But he can actually play a little bit. I don't think he's terrible. I don't think he's ever going to be a star, but he showed last night he can be functional.
Weekly finishes for Matthew Stafford. Debro, to your point on him, QB 20, QB 19, QB 14 the first 3 weeks. Last 2, QB2, and then what we saw last night, which will be, a very high finish. Obviously, there's a full week to go, but he scored over 25 fantasy points, so he will be, quite high wherever he ends up this week. So 3 non-QB1 type weeks, but 2 top 5 at least, probably, you would think.
And by the way, the Rams are the dream team for fantasy football, because it's you're starting Puka every week and he's a monster every week. You're starting Devontae and he usually does well. You're starting Kyron every week, no matter what your beef with him is. more often than not, he puts up points, and, then Stafford is absolutely playable.
By the way, the Rams next week on extra rest get that Ravens defense. So you'll be wanting to rank them very highly going into week 6.
I'm sorry, Worm. I'll go ahead and apologize right now. I'm sorry.
No, honestly, like the pressure is off once Lamar is hurt. It's like, okay, this team's just bad. So like it almost becomes emotionally easier to deal with. Let's go to Giants at Saints. Speaking of favorite teams, Debro. Jackson Dart looked great in his first start, but he also lost his best weapon for the season when Malik Neighbors went down. So I'm curious both where Dart is ranked amongst quarterbacks for week 5 for you, Fitz, but also for rest of season.
Yeah, by the way, Debro's boy Jackson Dart going against his team. Debro's going to be dialed into this game on Sunday.
I hope he rubs it in their faces. Go ahead, Fitzy. I'll get to it in a second.
I've got him QB 15 this week and QB 20 rest of season. Like, the rushing numbers are going to be good. And he is a really aggressive runner. Typically one read. If it's not there, he takes off. The passing numbers, especially with Malik Neighbors out, will not be good this season.
Debro.
QB 11 for this week, and I've got him QB 18 for the rest of the season. Like, the rushing is definitively there. The passing is going to be up and down considering what matchups they have. Now, this one's a really good one for Jackson Dart. Saints have given up the 6th highest yards per attempt, 3rd most passing touchdowns. I think last week, too, like, what you could talk about, like, the defensive matchup for Jackson Dart, but also when your best receiving threat in your offense goes out in the middle of the game, your entire game plan, especially through the air, we know is based around Malik Neighbors. So when that happens in the middle of the game, it is just try to survive and do the best you can to either sit on a lead and lean on their defense and run the ball and get out of there with a win. So for this one, they've had a whole week to kind of prepare. Darius Slayton last year without Malik Neighbors in the lineup, dude, he got Malik Neighbors treatment. He got like a 29% target share. This is a really good matchup to sit here and feature him. And I'm not saying every week is going to be like that. But if you want Jackson Dart playing the best football he can, this is the type of matchup where you open up the passing game some and you allow the kid to learn on the job. I hope Jackson Dart just rubs it in their faces. I hope he makes them rue the day the fact that they passed on him, took Tyler Shuck, who is not starting for this team this week. Their 2nd round pick is not starting for this team this week. I hope Jackson Dart rubs it in their faces that they did not draft him. I really do.
They didn't need a starting quarterback. They have Spencer Rattler.
Ugh. God, dude, I whenever that happened, we were live on the draft coverage. Like, I absolve myself of all Saints fandom until Loomis is gone. He is a buffoon, a moron. I cannot stand ever. He's basically given away all their picks for players that aren't even starting on the freaking team. Like, let's go sign Brandon Cooks. He's a nothing burger. Let's go trade for Devon Bailey. He's not starting. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
What do you think, Fitz, of Scadaboo without Neighbors? Like, do you worry that things will kind of get condensed a bit in the passing game and it'll become harder for him to run? Or, all right, do you just think, like, he's good, he's going to get the volume, like, don't overthink it?
Yeah, I mean, you have to worry about that. It seemed like the Chargers were throwing some pretty heavy boxes at Scadaboo last week. He almost got into the end zone a couple of times, though. There was one, I think he got stood up by Derwin James at the goal line once. There was another Charger defender, I forget who, made a real nice, like, they had a play where they got Scadaboo out wide and he just had one man to beat, but the guy made a really nice sort of diving low tackle on Scadaboo and just got enough of him to knock him off his feet. Man, yeah, like, it will be pretty hard and he might not be super efficient. Like, I don't think he's averaging 5 yards a carry this season, but man, like, he is just such a war horse. You can just keep giving him the ball and that guy is just a tank.
Can we talk about the vibes for the Giants too? With Dart and Scadaboo, like, their entire team dynamic and vibes felt totally different last week. Like, they were feeding off the energy of these two guys. You could see, like, I watched that entire game and it was so much fun to watch.
Now, when is it going to happen for them on defense? Because, like, it should be happening there with Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence. Like, why is this defense not better?
I don't know. We'll see.
Let's go to Cowboys at Jets. By the way, just quick note, because it got tweeted while we were recording this. Braylon Allen, according to Aaron Glenn, is expected to miss 8 to 12 weeks. Yeah. Surgery is still on the table per Aaron Glenn.
Why do you have a guy who is an important player in your offense returning kickoffs? Like, why? Like, put the, my buddy Michael Salfino says this. Use the cannon fodder on kickoffs.
Nobody will remember this, Fitz, but Dante Demas, the year he was like basically poised to be a first-team All-Big Ten wide receiver.
Maryland, yeah.
I was at a Maryland-Iowa game. It was this big night game, really exciting. Maryland's back on the map or whatever. And Dante Demas was returning kickoffs for some reason. He's not even that type of player. He's like a Mike Evans type of player, like big body, like at college level, but like big body, whatever. And he was returning kickoffs, and he was never the same. His career was basically ruined because his knee was destroyed on a kickoff return. I have thought about that every time I see good players returning kicks ever since.
Yeah, if you want to do it in a playoff game, okay. But like in an early season game, I just don't understand. And it's not like Braylon Allen. Like Braylon Allen never returned kickoffs in college.
I do not understand. I do not see the upside. It drives me nuts when I see it happen.
Stupid.
So in this game, I thought this was an interesting one because I sat down trying to think of a good question for it, and I felt like most players, especially with Braylon Allen out, most players feel pretty straightforward in this matchup. Like where they rank is kind of obvious. So I wanted to kind of put it on you guys and ask, who is the toughest player in this game for each of you to rank? And Deeper, we can go with you first.
I feel like I'm over the moon with this guy, and maybe I'm just drinking too much of my own Kool-Aid here, and Fitzy's going to have to pull me back a little bit because I've been talking about him in the waiver wire article over the last 2 to 3 freaking weeks. But after the breakout week that we saw from Mason Taylor, I've got him as a top 12 tight end this week. And he's the guy where it's like versus ECR. I'm like, ECR has him as a mid tight end 2. And I'm
tight end 21 in ECR, by the way.
Yeah, man. But look, like last week, he got a 25.9% target share. He had a 33% first read share. If the ball is not going to freaking Garrett Wilson, it's going to Mason Taylor. And I know he's limited in practice this week and stuff, but I think the usage of the last 2 weeks shows us that he's getting healthier. And I said in the offseason, they need a second pass game weapon to step up. There's not a ton of volume in this passing attack, but there's enough to support 2 weapons. And I look at the matchup. I think Mason Taylor should be a tight end 1 this week, but ECR says I am totally wrong. Fitzy, am I crazy?
I've got him ranked right at ECR. I should probably move him up to tight end 17 ahead of the 2 Browns tight ends who I have no interest in using. It was, the usage has been encouraging. He looked good in that game against the Dolphins. He did not look like a rookie. So I'm open to it. I mean, I don't know if I can trust any pass catcher in that offense other than Garrett Wilson just because I don't trust Justin Fields.
I guess my thing here is, do you trust Travis Kelce more? Do you trust Mark Andrews more? Do you trust TJ Hawkinson more? Do we trust any of those other guys? More than a guy that's in a consolidated passing attack versus veterans that are not getting targets, have backup quarterbacks, and we're worried about matchups?
Patrick Mahomes is a backup quarterback. You mentioned Travis Kelce. I still think he's a little bit better a passer.
He's more of
in
the washed and old and can't do anything with his target volume.
No, but I would rather start Mason Taylor than Mark Andrews to that point about.
I mean, seriously, Mark Andrews with Cooper Rush. We feel better about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, track record to some extent. I agree on maybe ranking Mason Taylor too low. I guess I need a little bit longer in audition.
You need another game with 26% target share, huh, Fitzy?
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm throwing it out there because I'm like, his usage, the matchup, the high total, it all kind of lines up for me. But again, maybe I'm drinking too much of my own Kool-Aid. Who knows?
Yeah. So, Fitz, who's the player that's toughest for you to rank in this game?
I mean, for me, it was both quarterbacks. It's just, it's really uncomfortable to rank Justin Fields as a top 5 QB, and I have him QB 5, knowing what he looks like as a passer on his bad days. In week 2 against the Bills, Fields had 3 completions for 27 yards. Got knocked out of that game with a concussion, but he wasn't knocked out until early in the 4th quarter. He had 3 completions in 3 quarters. But obviously, Fields is wildly productive as a runner, averages 59 rushing yards, has 3 touchdown runs in 3 games. And the Cowboys pass defense is terrible. They're giving up 309 passing yards a game and like 9.2 yards per attempt. So great setup for sure for Fields. And then like Dak Prescott was just incredible against the Packers. That had to be one of the best games of Dak's career. He was just so good in that game. The inclination is to rank him highly after such a good game, and he did it without CeeDee Lamb. But the fact is, he still doesn't have CeeDee Lamb. George Pickens is going to be seeing a lot of Sauce Gardner, and the Cowboys are missing a bunch of starting offensive linemen. Cooper Beebe and Tyler Booker are out, and Tyler Guyton has a concussion. I'm not sure whether he's playing. So I have Dak QB 12, and I'm not sure whether that's too high, too low, or just right.
Can I make you feel a little bit better about Dak, Fitzy?
Sure.
So the Jets have the third lowest pressure rate, so that's going to help the Dallas offensive line. They're playing more too high over the last 2 weeks, less man coverage, so Sauce is not going to shadow George Pickens. And if he's not shadowing George Pickens is going to get plenty of Brandon Stevens. And Worm has seen Stevens play, and he knows how bad that is.
We've all seen Stevens at this point.
So I think Dak's going to have a good game.
I think Cooper Rush could have a good passing day against Brandon Stevens. I actually like Stevens a lot as like a person. Like I always really like respected him, and so I don't want to like be too mean to him. But yeah, he's not been very good the last couple of years. I already mentioned this, but let Autopilot manage your fantasy football lineup automatically, so you never have to worry about last minute changes. Auto swap inactive players and ensure your lineup is always optimized, even when you can't be online. Take control with the flexibility to approve lineup changes via email or let Autopilot handle everything. Stay ahead with My Playbook Autopilot, available now for Fantasy Pros Premium subscribers at fantasypros.com/myplaybook or on the Fantasy Pros app. Try Premium for free right now by claiming your 3-day trial of Fantasy Pros Premium at fantasypros.com/premium. All right, next game here, guys. Broncos at Eagles. By the way, the early slate is so bad this week. This is the only game that has two teams that have more than a single win this season in that early afternoon slate on Sunday. It is a lot of like 0-3 versus 1-3, 1-2-1 versus 1-3. It's really ugly. So hopefully Broncos at Eagles can save us a bit here. Fitz, I'll start with you. Was last week the RJ Harvey coming out party, or will he fall back to earth against Philadelphia? And yes, I am being mean to Debro by not letting him go first on his boy RJ Harvey.
I love the fact that you're making me wait. I love this.
I did it for Jackson Dart too, right? I think I set Fitz up first.
You're in the lead, baby. I love it.
Debro's going to be like a rodeo bull in the chute, just waiting to get out and raise hell. I'm cautiously optimistic. So Harvey played a season high 33 snaps. Snap share was up to 40.7%. And I think that's closer to the usage we were hoping for with RJ Harvey. We knew he wasn't going to be a workhorse. Like Sean Payton always uses more than one running back, but as much as the Sean Payton offense runs through his running backs and as much as they get used in the passing game under Sean Payton, like there are typically two fantasy relevant backs in a Sean Payton offense. I think Harvey has reached the point of fantasy relevance now, and the passing game usage was really encouraging. Like 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown on 5 targets. So yeah, I think we can start Harvey now.
Debro?
Yeah, I think the breakout game was real for everybody out there. RB12 on the week last week. I'm confidently starting him this week. And I just want to throw out a bunch of stats here. Philadelphia has quietly been not great against, as good as their defense is, they're not great against defending the run. They've given up the 12th most rushing yards per game. They have the lowest stuff rate. And if you want to get more granular about this, Denver has been more of a gap scheme run game so far this year. Philly against gap runs, 11th highest yards per carry, 3rd highest success rate. And if Harvey's not going to get it done on the ground, I think he will. I have J.K. Dobbins and Harvey both as top 24 backs. I think Denver's offense should go through their ground game this week and avoid the pass defense. And I think, Sean Payton, we know that he's a smart play designer. I think that's what's going to happen. Harvey can also get it done through the air. And, kind of fits you had laid out. Look, this backfield was Dobbins and Harvey last week. Harvey had a 25% route share, 12% target share. Philly through the air versus running backs, they've given up the 10th most receiving yards and the 4th highest yards per reception. So I think Harvey can lead the way as far as check downs and screens and stuff to make life a little bit easier for Bo Nix this week. So Harvey confidently starting him.
I want to ask a second question on this game. I want to ask about Saquon Barkley quickly. Just like, he hasn't been a disastrous fantasy pick thanks to the touchdowns, but he has been really inefficient with his touches, and he has not had a 20-point fantasy game yet in half PPR scoring, despite actually catching passes and scoring touchdowns, which are two very valuable things. So I'm just curious in general, like, what your concern level is, and specifically this week against a good Broncos defense in general, Fitz.
Low to moderate. The offensive line hasn't been as good for the Eagles. There have been some injury issues up front. I don't know if it's possible for Saquon to be as good or as efficient a runner as he was in 2024. But on the bright side, they are using Saquon in the passing game more than they did last year. He already has 14 catches, which puts him on pace for about 60 catches, which would be the second highest reception total of his career.
D-Bro.
My concern level's not high for Saquon because we know the volume is going to be there, but kind of like how Fitzy alluded here, I mean, their offensive line covered up a lot of sins for Saquon last year. Like, he was awesome for fantasy and stuff like that, but he was not amazing as a tackle breaker. Like, he wasn't generating all of this stuff by himself. He had 3.5 yards before contact per attempt last year. That is an astronomical number. Now, that's fallen back to earth. He only 1.23 this year, which has really hurt Saquon in the sense that he's not breaking tackles, guys. Amongst 43 qualifying backs, Saquon Barkley, 9th lowest explosive run rate, 3rd lowest missed tackles forced per attempt. Only Chuba Hubbard and Kareem Hunt are worse than Saquon Barkley, and the 10th lowest yards after contact per attempt. So based off of his role in this offense, I'm not worried about him and the touchdown equity that he brings. But saying that I think there's going to be a bounce back, that better days are coming, like all that kind of stuff for Saquon, no, I don't see that.
Let's get to the Sunday late afternoon slate, late afternoon Eastern time. Titans at Cardinals. This one I'll keep really simple here, D-Bro. Are you starting Amari DiMercato, Michael Carter, neither, or both this week?
I think both are flex worthy. And I know that this has been the talking point of all of Twitter this week. It's been like, oh, which side are you taking? You taking Michael Carter or Amari DiMercato? You can't like both. You got to pick a side. Which one you picking up off of waivers? And I ended up with Michael Carter in a lot of places because everybody went to the DiMercato side. So Michael Carter you could get for basically free off of waivers. And I think the way that this backfield is going to work out this week is I think Michael Carter is going to be, if you look at the early season usage of James Conner and Trey Benson, James Conner was your early down guy. He got a little bit of the passing down work. Trey Benson worked in the passing down and sprinkled in on early downs. I think Michael Carter is your James Conner, and I think Amari DiMercato is your Trey Benson. I think both guys are going to have relevance this week. I wouldn't be surprised if both of these guys scored. If I got to pick one, I pick Michael Carter because I think he's going to own the early down role. And what we saw from him last year, week 17 through 18, he had 18 touches per game, 70 total yards. He wasn't truly efficient, but RB11 and RB20 in those weeks. So really, like, look, if you need a flex, either one of them, I can make you a case for both of them. If I got to pick one, it's Michael Carter.
Fitz, DiMercato, Carter, neither, or both?
I agree with D-Bro. I think they're both flex worthy. I've got Carter ranked RB28 and DiMercato RB29. And I know it seems counterintuitive to think that, when DiMercato was active last week, the number 2 running back, and Michael Carter was not active, to think that Michael Carter would be more valuable than the guy who was already ahead of him on the depth chart. But I do think there's a good chance that the Cardinals just leave DiMercato in the passing down role and move Carter into the early down role. And Carter kind of tipped his hand, the team's hand. He was doing a locker room interview and they were asking him about, going from the practice squad to being probably a prominent part of the offense this week. And he said, yeah, it's a lot. You go from the practice squad one week to starting the next. Like he said, he was starting basically. So, I kind of think that's how they're going to play it, but I do think they both profile as like playable options against a Titans run defense that this has just been a great matchup. Like 4th most fantasy points to running backs, 3rd most rushing yards, a league high 6 touchdown runs against the Titans.
Similar question on our next game, Buccaneers at Seahawks, another backfield with, the main, characters hurt. Bucky Irving not playing for the Buccaneers. So how are you approaching the Tampa Bay backfield? Fitz, I'll start with you this time with Irving, hurt.
Well, the matchup is less appealing than it is for the Cardinals running backs. I mean, the Seahawks have allowed the 7th fewest rushing yards to running backs and giving up just 3.3 yards per carry to running backs. They're 3rd in DVOA against the run. White obviously has the appeal as a pass catcher, but less so as a runner, like career average of 3.9 yards per carry. I think that kind of yards per carry, not a great stat, but I think it's a pretty good reflection on Rachaad White in this case. And then I've got Sean Tucker at running back 38. Just kind of cautious. Maybe he has a much bigger role than we expect, which would be fun to see because I think a lot of people have been ready for Sean Tucker to break out and do something more. Bucky's great. Whoever's behind Bucky when healthy, no one's leapfrogging Bucky on the depth chart. But I think people want to see Sean Tucker and maybe they get the chance this week.
D-Bro, what do you think about this backfield this week?
I think it's going to be mostly Rachaad White. I think Tucker's going to, I think he's going to factor in for 30, 35% maybe of the snaps and stuff like that. That might be a little bit high. I think Rachaad White I am going to have as a top 24 back just based off of volume. I think he's going to get the high leverage touches. And the other part about it is if one of these guys is playing in the passing game, I think that's where Rachaad White can have a good day. Seattle's given up the most receiving yards to backs. So I think he can get, especially with the Buccaneers, how banged up are they in the passing game? Mike Evans is not going to play. They're outside of Emeka Ibuka, who is Baker Mayfield throwing the ball to? So I think Rachaad White can get their own volume, even though the matchup, like Fitzy pointed out, is pretty bad.
If you want a chance to win a signed A.J. Brown Eagles jersey for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head to fantasypros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Fantasy Pros app, leave a review for the podcast, or follow us on X, Instagram, or TikTok at Fantasy Pros. The more actions you complete, the more entries you receive. We will be announcing a winner on the podcast near the beginning of next month. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Let's go to Lions at Bengals. In Jake Browning's defense, D-Bro, at Minnesota and at Denver are two of the toughest matchups you could have, especially as a backup quarterback. Home against Detroit isn't exactly easy, but it might feel easy by comparison relative to the last 2 weeks. So are we willing to give Bengals players another chance this week?
I think we are. Jake Browning, I think you're not playing him outside of Superflex formats, but T. Higgins, I think, goes back into wide receiver 3 territory. The Lions secondary is banged up. They've given up the 10th most PPR points per target to perimeter wide receivers, so he gets flex relevance back. The player that I'm not going to go back to, and I'm willing to start pick your injury running back du jour this week: Amari DiMercado, Michael Carter, Rico Dowdle, because Chuba Hubbard's not going to play. I'm probably starting a lot of those guys over Chase Brown this week. He gets all the volume. He's not going to go anywhere. Detroit's rush defense has been really good. So I think you can go back to T. Higgins. Obviously, you're playing Jamar Chase if you got Jamar Chase. Jake Browning in Superflex formats. Chase Brown, it's just this offensive line's not going to do him any favors, and Detroit's run defense has been really good. I'm probably going to go with one of the guys, the flavors of the week over Chase Brown. Fitzy, tell me I'm wrong.
I've got Chase Brown, RB23.
Oh,
he's at least getting volume, man. He's averaging 17 touches a game.
He's not doing anything with it, dude.
I know, but he's catching passes. I'm following the volume, man. And even there, it's running back 23, low end RB2 in a week where 4 teams are on bye. So I don't think I'm going completely overboard there. I'm with you on not benching Jamar Chase, and some people think that's insane. Some people really want to bench him and think that sticking with him is like the band playing on the deck of the Titanic as it's going down. So I know it's been bleak for Chase the last couple of weeks.
Well, he had Surtain last week too.
You're right,
People don't
Surtain.
understand
Yeah.
that. They should have known that down game was coming.
No,
Right.
I think both sides have a good point on Chase in general. In general, I do think having a stud player whose circumstances have changed but is still healthy is sometimes the worst thing you can have in fantasy, because you feel like you cannot justify sitting a player like Jamar Chase, who's number 1 overall pick probably in your league. Yet if he continues to throw goose egg after goose egg, like they will just drag you down more so than like if he was injured. Not that you want a guy to get hurt, but if he was injured, okay, that's easy. Put him on IR, pick up somebody else, and you're getting points elsewhere. Having said that, I do think like Jake Browning historically is better at home, which is where he is here. Detroit's defense is not the same as Minnesota and Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would try again. There will come a point where it gets to be like, man, like you are just kind of on the Titanic, right, Fitz? I think that's an apt metaphor. At a certain point, I don't think we're there yet just because there was two really tough matchups.
Well, can we also, I mean, I know we're all prisoner of the moment here. We also all still remember him versus Jacksonville too, and Chase went off with Browning under center, and the matchup wasn't nearly as bad. Like we're all old enough to remember that too. For everybody that wants to grab the shovel and just bury Jamar Chase right now, right?
That was a game at home where Browning is better,
and he still has 10 catches over the last 2 weeks. They're at least trying to get him the ball.
Yeah. Well, and you know Jamar Chase, like if he's not going to get the ball, he's going to get out there and not the cryptic tweets of A.J. Brown, but he's going to chirp about it.
Where do we have? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead.
I was just going to ask, where do we have T. Higgins ranked? I'm wide receiver 33.
I think I'm right around you. I've got him wide receiver 31, Fitzy. So we're holding hands here. Where do you have Chase ranked this week?
9.
Same. Exact same. Yep.
And
I think I need to move him up, to be honest.
Chase is also the type of player that, like, you don't need a great quarterback. Like, if he just gets him the ball and there's any amount of space, like, he can take it to the house. So,
for sure.
So, yeah. I have a funny story on Higgins, by the way. So, a good friend of mine who does not really pay that close attention to fantasy, but, like, he's in, like, a league with his family and everything. He, like, asked me for some help with the draft and for making some of his, picks and everything. He called me last night and he was like, hey, I need to pick up a tight end because Kraft's on bye. Who should I drop? And he has really strong receivers. And he was listing just the guys on his bench. And one of the last guys he mentioned was Higgins. He was only reading last names. And because I was thinking bench and I just assumed he meant Jaden Higgins.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, your other guys are pretty good. So like, I would drop Higgins. And then he like, not even 4 seconds later, I go, well, wait. Was it T. Higgins or Jaden Higgins? And he goes, well, I already dropped him. I was like, well, he just did it right away. And it was T. Higgins. He dropped T. Higgins to pick up Harold Fannin Jr.
No.
So I was like, you could try messaging the commissioner, see if you can get him to undo it. I don't know if he will or not. It's kind of your own stupidity. So shouts to my friend David for making that hilarious mistake.
Shout out to David. And shout out to using first names too when you talk about players.
I know.
It's needed.
He didn't realize that there was multiple Higgins receivers, I guess. So
apparently.
All right, let's go to Commanders at Chargers. Last game in the late afternoon slate. D-Bro, how much are you downgrading Chargers players with Joe Alt now joining Rashawn Slater on the shelf, at least for the time being? Two of the best tackles in football are now out. Not a very good offensive line. What are you doing with the Chargers in general as a result of this?
Not much this week. Now, I think this is going to be week-to-week matchup sensitive based off of the matchup. But the Commanders had the 9th lowest pressure rate. So I'm not that worried. And looking at their run defense, like they've allowed the 9th highest missed tackle rate. They're 14th in explosive run rate. So I think even behind like a downgraded offensive line, the Chargers can still have a lot of success this week.
Fitz?
I think I'm a smidge below consensus on all the Chargers this week, except for Ladd McConkey, who I'm stubbornly keeping faith with.
I think this is Ladd week, Fitzy, to your point. I think it's Ladd week.
Yeah, the Commanders get beaten up pretty good by slot receivers.
Yes. Lot of problems defending the slot.
Yeah,
so.
and Mike, have they been playing Mike Sandra still back in the slot now? Isn't he hurt?
They have. Yeah. I think it's Ladd week. I think the coverage matchup. And plus, dude, if anybody watched that game last week, Ladd is pressing so much. Like, you could tell it's in his head.
Yes.
Like, he wants to, like, a lot of drops and stuff like that. He didn't look the same. Like, this is a get right. Like, you got to infuse this guy with some good vibes because if not, like, you're going to need him the rest of the season. Yep. But anyway.
So I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Well,
no, you got it, Fitz.
I don't think the Chargers offense completely breaks, but yeah, not having your two cornerstone offensive tackles, Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, who's out for the season, right, not a good thing. The Chargers wanted to have Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt as their offensive tackles, and in Week 5, it's going to be Trey Pipkins and Austin Deculus. Jeez, I'm gonna have to
I didn't even look up who it was going to be. I was just like, it's not Alton Slater.
I watch a lot of SEC football. I don't remember Deculus at all from LSU. He was like
first time I've heard that name.
6th round pick in 2022, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's maybe I have to drop the Chargers a bit more in the rankings.
Debra, I want to quickly ask you a question that we talked about on the Thursday show to reference another person in my life who asked me a question. My brother-in-law was asking me about this dynasty trade, and Fitz felt like it was kind of a fair value, but he didn't think he would actually pull the trigger on it. I'm curious what you think, Debra, because it's a lot of players that you really like. It's giving away Puka Nacua, and this is like a 12-team, start 3 wide receivers, Superflex Dynasty League. Giving away Puka Nacua, getting Quentin Johnston and Drake London.
Oh, good Lord.
So the question is, how much do you really believe in this breakout being real for Quentin Johnston? Is it enough to bridge the gap between 2 very good receivers, but obviously Puka would be higher than London?
Okay.
Pretty fair, isn't it?
I think it's really fair. I think that name value hasn't caught up to actual production with Quentin Johnston. I think you can get added more to the QJ side, like a 27 or 28 second or something like that. But I think it's fair. I think it's definitely fair because I think, dude, Fitzy, didn't I say this in week 1 on the waiver wire show? I said the QJ breakout is real. The numbers say it is real, and it has been real. The guy is a wide receiver 1. His breakout is definitively real. So I think it's a fair return. If you want to do that, now you're giving away the wide receiver 1 in all of fantasy this year. He's probably going to go on to have a Cooper Kupp type of record-breaking season, and he's going to be a difference maker and league winner. And we get down to the end of the season, and we get the percentage of teams that went to championships and playoffs. If Puka stays healthy, he's going to be at the top of that board. He's going to be. So knowing that you're giving that type of player away, go ahead. But
what I told
think the trade's fair.
What I told my brother-in-law was I wouldn't make it if you guaranteed me health, but there is a history of Puka getting banged up and Stafford's back. So that's why I would consider. I was like, I don't know if I could actually bring myself to get rid of Puka right now, but if I were to, that would be the justification because it's a fair deal and you're getting out from not just him, but also Stafford's health. So
can we all say definitively, real fast before we move on, is QJ their unquestioned wide receiver 1 moving forward? I think he is. Fitzy?
I'm not ready to say that.
I can't say unquestioned with Ladd. We'll see what happens.
I mean, he's really good, but so is Ladd. I haven't stopped believing in Ladd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 games left. We'll go quick on these. Patriots at Bills, Sunday Night Football. I don't really have a good question for this game. I'm just super excited to watch this. Actually, I just think it's going to be an awesome matchup. So just give me a final score prediction from you guys. And then also one player that you disagree with consensus on this week in this game. For what it's worth, Hard Rock Bet has Bills -8. This was as of when I put the sheet together. I'm not sure if this has moved at all. Hard Rock Bet has Bills -8. Total set at 49. So again, Debro, give me final score prediction and a player you disagree with consensus on.
28-24 Bills. And I think why is Travion Henderson ranked over Ramondre Stevenson? What are people seeing that I'm not seeing? Because Travion Henderson, for all of our hope and hype and all that kind of stuff, and Ramondre keeps fumbling and he's not playing over Ramondre for all we talked about last week. And Travion's going through him before positional drills. And I was even bought into that and stuff. And Travion's not breaking tackles. That Ramondre Stevenson is still not ranked above Travion Henderson, and he's outside the top 24 running backs, although he's playing a team that cannot stop the run. And we know he's going to be a central figure of the rushing attack outside of Drake May. So I think the Bills win this game. I think it's honestly, maybe I'm going a little bit too low on the score here. I think it's going to be a shootout, and I think Ramondre should be ranked highly this week. As long as he doesn't fumble, he's going to have a really good game.
So Debra has Patriots covering and the over hit on the total and is disagreeing with Ramondre. Fitz, what do you have?
31-27 Bills. I think the Patriots give the Bills a really good game. Drake May goes toe-to-toe with Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs plays well in his return to Buffalo, revenge game and all that. But in the end, Josh Allen pulls it out for Buffalo. So I like the Patriots to cover and the game to go over the total. I've got Drake May QB3 this week. So I'm definitely against and I think part of it is that Josh Allen is going to push Drake May into a shootout. And so Drake May is going to have to drop back quite a bit and throw a lot of passes and do some scrambling. And he's going to put up points. Debro, I am one of the fools who has Travion Henderson ranked 1 spot ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. I do expect Ramondre to get more touches, but I do think that Travion Henderson is always going to do more on a per-touch basis than Ramondre Stevenson. I'm also factoring in the likelihood that Ramondre Stevenson is one fumble away from fumble jail and not getting out. And also, like, Henderson has that big playability, and he's going up against the Bills defense that's wait, we don't think Travion Henderson is a good running back? Are you serious?
Hold up. I loved him as a prospect, but I know we have a small sample size here. But tell me these numbers don't concern you at least a little bit.
No, 4 games. Don't like, you don't even need to list the numbers in 4 games. With the number of touches he's had in 4 games, nothing you can throw at me with numbers is going to like change the way I fundamentally feel about Travion Henderson and what he was as a prospect. Like, no, a 4-game sample of like timeshare / backup work. No, like.
Okay.
I think 39 total touches this season.
The fact that he's playing in 29% of the snaps, the fact that he's not playing in a bunch of the routes, he's got 27% route share.
But again,
I can't rank him above Ramondre.
One fumble from a guy who's had chronic fumbling problems away from a much bigger role. And against a good matchup against a Bills run D that ranks like 30th in DVOA and has given up like 5.5 yards per carry.
Hasn't Travion, why didn't Travion break out versus the Panthers then? That was a really good, wasn't that a legendary matchup too? Did Travion go wild in that game either?
I'm asking. It's coming, man.
Dude, I hope it is. I hope it is. I don't want to be a Travion hater. Like, I loved him as a prospect. I still have a lot of faith in the kid. I'm just throwing out there the numbers so far are concerning based off of what we've seen. And I know it's a limited sample. I know that.
Too early. Tell those Travion Henderson stakeholders out there. Debro wants you to cut him. I recommend not.
I never said that.
So much for going quickly on these last 2 games. By the way, Travion Henderson, RB25, Ramondre, RB26 in half PPR at ECR. So back-to-back there. Monday Night Football, Chiefs at Jaguars. The Chiefs offense looked the best, most explosive it has in years against Baltimore. There's obviously a degree of like both elements being true here, but would you give more credit to Xavier Worthy's return to the lineup, opening things up, or just the abysmal injured Ravens defense that they were facing? And kind of, in answering that question, what do you expect for a follow-up performance in Jacksonville? Fitz, I'll start with you.
Well, the Ravens defense has been bad, no question. I do think Worthy makes a difference. They needed a pass catcher who could make explosive plays, and Worthy's speed absolutely helps create space for his teammates. I can't wait to see what this Kansas City offense looks like when Rashee Rice comes back in a couple of weeks, because the only time we've seen Rice and Worthy play together was early last year, and Worthy was still a little lost. Like, he's a totally different guy now. I'm not sure what we'll see from the Chiefs this week. I think it largely depends on how well the Chiefs can block Josh Hines-Allen, who has been an absolute play wrecker for the Jaguars this season, like stealth defensive player of the year candidates. So they've got to handle him. And other than that, though, the Jaguars defense, the numbers say it's been really good this year, but it's also been very turnover driven. So we'll see, other than Josh Hines-Allen. Like, I'm excited about the Chiefs offense, cautiously optimistic about it this week.
Debra?
I think a lot of that was the Ravens, and it's not all of it. They looked like a better offense. I think Worthy gave them a big boost and opened up things for them, but it does have to get brought up that 62% of Patrick Mahomes' yards came after the catch. He had the 8th lowest ADOT. Baltimore has not been a good tackling team. They have the 11th most missed tackles this year. Jacksonville, that's not a problem. Their defense is playing out of their minds right now. Like, I think this game is going to be a lot uglier than people might think, especially Chiefs fans, considering how the context of the Jacksonville defense. They have the 3rd fewest missed tackles. They've allowed the lowest passer rating, and they lead the NFL in interceptions. And I'll throw out one name since Fitzy's given some shine to Jacksonville players. Devin Lloyd is playing some really inspired football. Dude, He is so freaking good. He has 3 picks right now. He's forced a fumble. He's all he's all over the freaking field. His playing time's gone up every single week. I think this game's going to be nasty. I'm not telling you Jacksonville is winning this game, but I think the under is more in play in this game, and I think the Chiefs offense comes back to earth a little bit, although I do think they're going to have to pass the ball a lot because they're not going to be able to run the ball versus them.
I want to correct something I said earlier about thinking that Kyle Hamilton probably would play. He is not practicing again today on Friday, so that looks really bad for that. I don't know what the line's going to end up at in that game, but please bet on the Texans. I would encourage everybody. I told you all to bet on the Chiefs last week, and you two scoffed at me, so I'm going to do it again and say,
I did. I had Ravens love and hope, and that went.
Please
sideways.
go bet on the Texans this week. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap things up there. For Debro and Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Good luck in Week 5. We'll see you again next time. Actually, I will not be here next week, just so everybody knows that. It'll be you two with the fill-in host having to come up with the questions yourself. So we'll see how you guys like it for you two next week. I will be out, for just a couple of days. But for next week, for next time, I'm Ryan. They're Debro and Fitz. We'll see you.